So that's my second question, and that is about the gloves. So there is that video, which actually wasn't from the 2020 election. I understand that was actually from 2021 from the runoff in Georgia. So some of this, it's based on the 2020 election, but some of the video isn't from the 2020 election, and that I found that to be a little, questionable. But at the same time, let me just ask this question, and that is
Jason, for what it's worth, that's not a point they conceal in the movie. They say it outright.
No, they do. They absolutely say that. That's how I know.
Yeah.
It's not like I went and investigated that.
Let me add a thought, if I may, which is that it's actually very useful to have geo-tracking from the runoff, because you can see the same mules who operated in the election returning for the runoff. So, and in fact, you can see the same mule not wearing gloves in the beginning and wearing gloves after the time when there were arrests in Arizona due to fingerprints. And then apparently the word went out, guys, you got to wear gloves because otherwise you're going to get busted. So, what makes a story credible is when the details kind of fall into place. And so sure enough,
Dinesh, you have video of the same exact mule not wearing gloves?
I don't recall. Was that in the film?
I'm just asking. You do have video of that?
I am too. I don't think I recall that.
I'm gonna look in our archive for that. You're right. We only show the mule wearing gloves, and this was, I believe, from early January. And we obviously have plenty of video before the arrest where they're not wearing gloves. But whether we have a video of that same woman not wearing gloves, I'm gonna check.
Okay.
Yeah. That was, because that I think would change a lot of this, because
that would demonstrate that she wasn't just COVID scared.
Right.
It would be like something changed. Something changed.
Yeah, you stole my question here. I mean, there are people who are still spraying down their groceries, and there are people who didn't really have a full understanding of how COVID was how you transmit COVID. She was also wearing a mask in that too. So this could have been a COVID person, a person who was really afraid of COVID to touch that.
Let's remember, A, there was no one else around.
Yeah,
and let's remember, B,
but if you think it, but hold on, Dinesh, if you think it's that something that you touch will give you COVID, then you're gonna wear gloves for the drop box. You know what I mean? So that's why I think it could have been, a COVID fear. And I'm not sure that it's established. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying it's not really established that this was not a COVID person who's freaked out about COVID. And it was specifically so that their fingerprints wouldn't be detected, because I would assume that there are a whole lot of fingerprints on a Dropbox. You know what I mean? It would be pretty difficult.
Let's look at it this way. If we were discussing right now a criminal case, there would be an obvious remedy, right? In other words, you got these mules, we have their cell phone IDs. Every cell phone has a distinctive ID. So True the Vote doesn't have the names of the 2,000 mules, but they have their cell phone IDs. Right. So if law enforcement steps in, all they have to do, and it won't be hard to get a warrant here, you basically unmask the mules, you have their names, and you go talk to them. That's kind of the next step I would call for after the movie, because if you go talk to the mules, see, we can't do that. I don't have the authority to show up. But the cops do. And what they do is they ask the mules, hey, listen, were you paid? How much? Who paid you? Who put you up to it? Who gave you those ballots? And the investigation proceeds from there. I'm not trying to solve this problem judicially. I'm just pointing to the logical next step that I think needs to happen.
Well, as an investigative journalist, you could do that. You could show up and say, hey, if you have the evidence of who they are, as an investigative journalist, you certainly could ask them questions.
What I was saying is that if you have a cell phone ID, as a private individual, I don't have the authority to get their name. Basically, the authorities will go to the cell phone provider and go, who's this guy? And they'll go, well, it's Dinesh D'Souza. That's the way it works. Law enforcement has they do it every day. I mean, look, if there's a murder in a park and there are 5 cell phones that are tracked in that park, they unmask those people, they go interview them. They're probably all going to be suspects. It doesn't mean they all did it, but maybe one of them did it.